Asher and Penland on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipe Man here on the Adventures Pipe Man, W4CY Radio, on the Positively Pipe Man segment with our resident health for pets, health for humans expert, the pet health guru. How are you?
I am fantastic, but I'm getting better.
Well, there you go. Listen, I love hearing that. And it's probably because all the advice that you give that you follow yourself. You walk your talk. I know that for a fact. I've known you for a long time. And so 20 years we've been talking about the pathway to great pet health. For those that are here today listening and watching that have not heard the pathway to great pet health, what do you have to tell them?
It's really, really simple, Dean. Like I said, I've been actually in the pet industry for over 60 years. I know I don't look that old. I think I was doing it while my mother was still carrying me in the womb, but anyway, it's really going back to basics. We are the sum of everything that goes into our body. It's got to come in either through the mouth, through the nose, or through the skin. And as long as we put the proper stuff in there, the body has an innate experience of being healthy, keeping healthy, regenerating when bumps and bruises happen. Starting with a species appropriate diet. If you have a dog, it's a carnivore. If you have a cat, it's a super carnivore. If it happens to be birds, obviously there's seed eaters or bug eaters or plant eaters, nectar eaters. So you have to take into consideration the individual species and what a species appropriate diet would be like. And also what they need as far as their life is concerned. I mean, we've had several conversations on this show how we've tried to take our pets and take the kiddiness out of the cat and make them into a toy. We take the dogness out of the dogs and make it a puppet. It's, to keep them healthy, we have to keep them happy. And that's emotionally happy and energy wise, as well as just physically healthy through good foods. On the nutrition side, dogs and cats are carnivores. They need meat. And yet, when you pick up that bag of food in the grocery store, the pet food store, the veterinarian's office, why is the first ingredient corn?
Oh my God. Do they eat corn in the wild?
Actually, corn is not a wild plant. So I guess the ancient wolves would have all died out because it wasn't available. But but then, when you look at the rest of that ingredient label, you can't buy a single one of those products normally in any kind of food supply chain because they're not foods. And so, I mean, that's where the pathway, if you will, to great health starts. You've got to feed real food, food that carries nutrients, food that is alive. And in a carnivore, that's animal proteins, animal fats, fresh meat, fresh poultry, fresh fish. It's just so essential. And their body is designed in such a way to be able to process that properly, digestively, turn it into energy. People don't realize that how the body works. When cattle are grazing and sheep are grazing, these are ruminant animals that have four stomachs. Basically, they ferment their food, and when they eat pure grass and pure legumes, real forage, they take that and it's converted into the meat, into omega 3s and 9s, those healthy omegas that we need, those fatty acids. When we feed them grain, that corn, their body falls apart. Their body becomes all inflamed, and that omega becomes omega 6, which gives us an upset stomach.
Hmm.
If the body, we have to let the body do the work.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. When you're going to doctors, you're getting all these meds, your body is not able to do the work.
No,
In fact, a lot of these meds, from what I know, and in my opinion, they block the body
yes,
from doing the work.
exactly. I mean, that's when you look at, okay, you're on a job, and you know your shoulder starts to hurt you every day, and okay, you go to the doctor, and it's like, oh, well, it's repetitive motion. So let me give you some painkillers, and now you can go back to work. Well, it doesn't hurt anymore, so you keep using it the wrong way.
Hmm.
And it just keeps getting worse. And all of a sudden, that painkiller doesn't work. Well, we'll give you a stronger strength or a different one. And then that one's not working anymore. Well, we have to do replacement surgery. You
Yeah,
know,
you have to feel pain, because if you don't feel pain, you're gonna do stuff that's gonna keep you in pain.
yes. And it's going to continue destroying the, or at least injuring those body parts by doing that.
Yeah.
And they never get recovery time. They don't get time to regenerate with good cells, which is the whole thing. We want to make good stem cells to keep ourselves growing. So that's a major portion of it with the nutrition right there. And again, if you're putting in foods that they cannot digest, like fruits and vegetables, carbohydrates in a carnivore, it that throws the body out of balance. On top of it, it unbalances the energy portion of our bodies and their bodies, which we need to be there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, clean air. I mean, our air is, our society has become, you know, basically, I can't even describe it anymore. I mean, the chemtrails and weather modification and all the chemicals and the EMFs and, the 5G, 6G, 10G. Um, we're destroying that, our environment that way as far as our health is concerned. And we have to try to stay healthy that way. We advocate the use of air purifiers, things like ozone, and ozone and things of that nature that will help purify the air. Good filtration systems on your, HVAC systems and things of that nature is essential for your pet, and of course, keeping them away from, you know, toxic areas. Areas
Mhm.
have just been sprayed, treated. Dog parks are one of the worst in the world. I mean, they're sprayed for fleas and all kinds of
Oh
other
my
bugs.
lord.
And of course, because they're government run, most of them, even the private run ones, the same way though. But they have to look pretty. So we're using all kinds of lawn chemicals to, keep the grass looking good. Or maybe we'll just go to synthetic plastic grass with all the BPA's and phthalates and plasticizers. you know, um, so we've got all these toxins, and of course that actually goes back to the clean water as well. Everybody thinks that bottled water is clean. It's not clean. It's been filtered, but that does not make it clean water, and most of it is dead water. I
Yeah.
I I just saw a publication document that came out publicizing that most of the bottled water in the supply chain today is on average better than 2 years old.
Wow.
So if you're buying spring water that's 2 years old, what good is it?
Exactly. Like anything else.
Yeah.
Like anything else that's, old or expired or whatever, it changes. Even
Yeah.
medicine. Even medicine, like there's medicine. It's funny. I was just reading about a medicine that it has to be refrigerated, and it can last 30 days outside the refrigerator. But once you take it out of the refrigerator and becomes room temperature, you cannot put it back in the refrigerator because it will change the
Hmm.
biological makeup of that medicine. So it's interesting when you get things like that. It's interesting that you said ozone, because many years ago, as you know, I was in the pool and spa business. Now we're talking like ancient history now. But I remember when ozonators first came out for
Yeah.
pools and spas, and it was part of our sales pitch because it would clean. I don't even remember the percentage now. I used to, but like maybe 100 times better than chlorine, or and it didn't have the negative effects of chlorine. In fact, it had no negative effects.
Correct.
And the beauty of it is that it was O3 ozone in the water. And as soon as it came out of the water into the air, it turned into O2 oxygen. So there was no toxicity, there was no negativity. And your water, oh, that's what it was. The particle that it would
Yes.
kill was 15 times smaller than what chlorine could kill. And chlorine kills you, like that's nasty crap.
Right.
And all it smelled like was a fresh rain. It didn't have that chlorine smell. It smelled like a fresh rain because that's basically where it comes from, type of thing. And you were much safer in that hot tub or that pool with the ozonator than with chlorine. And it did a better job. And it cost you less money because you bought the machine once. And if you had to change the bulb in it, it would be a long time before you had to, instead of buying chlorine and shock all the time.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even kill every bacteria either. Like
No.
shock and chlorine does not kill black algae.
No.
Perfect example.
No. Yeah. Well, another part of that too, when we look at what kind of water that, wolves and any wild animal would be drinking, it's not clean and purified. I mean, look, you see the pictures in Africa of the elephants, and the hippos and all these, the gators and crocodiles and all that sort of thing swimming around. And they're pooping in the water, and they're peeing in the water, and they're drinking the water, and they're alive.
Yeah, longer than us sometimes.
Yes.
And I think about cavemen again, going back to cavemen.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't have a bottled water, and they didn't have faucets, and they didn't have hoses, and they just drank water just like animals do. I'll even go back to my childhood as a Gen Xer. We drank out of the hose.
Yeah.
You went home and because you were thirsty, and your mom would slam the door and basically say, go drink out of the hose and go play.
Yeah, exactly. So, that all fits together. It all starts to tie together. So what we have to do is we have to find those modern day alternatives, I guess, if you will. We have to seek out the technologies that allow us to make living water today. There's several units. Again, they use ionization processes, not which are you can use to alter the pH and have alkaline water and all that sort of stuff. And unlike everybody's on this alkaline water kick, even for their dogs. What they don't realize is that all that water is basically tap water that's been greenwashed, and by adding sodium bicarbonate to it to make that high pH, and that sodium bicarbonate over time eats away your stomach.
Wow.
Whereas if you do it through electrolysis and creating, an ozone and things of that nature, it's living water again, like natural spring water and like rainwater used to be before we put all the contaminants in the sky.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how do people find out more from you about this? And more importantly, you have some products in your store that can help people with this. So how can they get those, whether it be walking in the store or ordering it online?
Okay, the first place to look, I generally recommend is follow us on Pet Health Cafe, our podcast, and prior to that, our radio shows. 18 seasons out there. It's a lot of, that's a lot of content. I mean, you're looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of segments that deal with a lot of these individual issues and that sort of thing. That can be reached at pethealthcafe.com or on these stations as well, along with hundreds of stations around the world that carry any kind of podcast. And they can also come to, as you mentioned, their store, My Paleo Pet, in Pompano Beach, Florida. You'll quite often find me stalking the aisles there, which we don't have aisles anymore. We've got an open concept with the brand new store. And but out there chit-chatting with anybody who comes in and has some questions. They can also find the same products on mypaleopet.com and order conveniently online. Everything from healthy diets, carnivore diets for your pets, to farm to table proteins for people as well. All the products are graded for human and animal consumption. We do over 125 different herbals and botanicals that help out with keeping the optimal edge. We do a lot, and part of that nutrient profile today is we talk more and more about minerals, the importance of minerals, and the primary source of those minerals are basically through good herbs and botanicals, the ancient plants, not the modern fake man-made plants that we are so accustomed to finding in the supermarket. And BioComplete is our manufacturer, making sure this technology is all out there. We use like I said, we use a lot of different technologies. We have several water technologies that are just unbelievable. I mean, who would have thought that we could actually have light infused water today that actually helps build new stem cells, and patch therapies that use light, non-transdermal, not putting anything in the body, but that help create the peptides that make the new stem cells. Air technology, like I said, using ozone and other things that when you ionize the air, all those particles that you see in the window, when the sunlight comes through, those all clump together and fall to the floor, and you vacuum them up. So we have a lot of different technologies that we can use to help your pet get healthy. And basically, the whole idea is to stay away from medicine, because it never treats the root cause. We have to look at the root cause, and that's the basic body itself. Let's supply it with what it needs.
Yep. Can't treat the symptom, have to treat the root cause. And you know what? Everything you said, man, what an amazing pathway to great pet health. So thank you once again, Pet Health Guru, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipe Man.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.